Hello everybody, this is the Lovebat, also known as Ryan Morgan or whatever. At least that's my actual name. A lot of people already know me by that by now, but at least my online friends do. And I don't have any qualms with people knowing me by my real name either. Water's good stuff. Anyway, I figured that I'd go ahead and want to do my very first Let's Play since a lot of people seem to be doing it. But I've been playing games for a long time, and yet I've never actually done a Let's Play. All I've ever done is post test footage of when I used my capture card a while back for a Magic the Gathering type game. And that was on my 360, but I've never done an actual full playthrough before. And I wanted to get on the action because I think that Planescape Torment, the game that I will be playing this time around, is one of the best games ever made. And, you know, I haven't actually beaten the game yet, which I know it sounds kind of bad. I haven't gone through the whole thing, but it's one of those deals where you have a big backlog, and I just didn't want to go ahead and, you know, lose time playing a few other games. I kind of put it on hold, Planescape Torment, that is. And I put it on hold for a little too long, and I didn't really catch back up. So, I kind of forgot about it for a little while, and then I'm like, okay. I'll go ahead and try and play it again, except this time I'll just start on over, and you know, it's a great game, so it's not bad to run through it all again. And it's not kind of like other games to where, you know, once you've gone through it, you know, it seems repetitive to do it all over again, because the writing in this game is bar none the best that I've ever seen in any video game. And I love Mass Effect, but even Planescape Torment blows a lot of other games out of the water. And, you know, I don't even think that Mass Effect has as good writing as Planescape Torment does. And Torment has probably the best characters, story, voice acting, you name it. It's awesome. Now, yeah, sometimes the combat is a bit iffy, but, you know, that's only mainly for if you're, well, if you're more into the modern type of video games and you didn't really play much of the older D&D styled games or RPGs, then, yeah, you might dislike it and feel like, oh, it's aged terribly and this and that. But I think it's pretty awesome. The only thing you really have to worry about, and here we are at the menu screen, I'm using a widescreen mod, by the way, so that's kind of why it looks a lot different with these black borders here. The widescreen mod that I'm using and the user interface mod here. These are the things, or some of the things that I'm using for this playthrough. The previous time I'd played Torment, I was actually using a few other excuse me. I was also using a few other kinds of fixpacks and stuff like that, and I'm still using those, except they're updated versions. So a few other things are fixed, but I'm also, this time around, I wasn't using the widescreen mod before, and I'm using it now, and it actually looks pretty darn good. Some of the things are smaller, like the portraits and some of these other icons, but the user interface thing that was showed up there, the patch for that, makes the text look a lot bigger, so that way with the widescreen mod things aren't out of place or really tiny and hard to read. And so in this game, it's basically an RPG set in the, I guess, Dungeons and Dragons universe. However, the Dungeons and Dragons rules are very loose in this game. They're not like Baldur's Gate or tabletop D&D. This is kind of like a game in its own, and you don't really have to know anything about D&D to be able to play it. But basically you have your 6 stats here, and for anyone who's played an RPG before, you'll probably already know what these mean, but I'm just going to go through it because Torment's a little bit different. You have Strength, obviously, that's for your weight carrying and your melee attacks. And you'll also, for any of these stats in the game, you can also get certain dialogue options. I think Constitution is the only one where you don't really get any extra dialogue options or ways to deal with people or quests. That's just for like your hit points and like your probably poison resistance and things like that. And your health regeneration, except you regenerate health anyway no matter what your constitution is, so you don't really need to put your constitution up high at all. And there are other ways to improve this. The most important stat in the game, according to many people, is wisdom, because it helps you recall memories in this game and try and help remember what's going on and who you are. That's why you're the nameless one. So you can recall memories from certain encounters and things like that, and you get, I think, some extra dialogue options as well. Some people complain, or some people claim, that wisdom is better than intelligence, not just because the experience point boost, but also because you get better dialogue options than what the intelligence one would give you. which is true in most cases, or in some cases. I mean, I don't exactly know for sure. I always play with both these really high. I haven't really tried out just one or the other. But I think if you look through a walkthrough, you'd probably find out which ones are best. Then there's intelligence, which is probably the second most important one. This helps you gain memories faster. I'm not sure what difference that is between wisdom and intelligence, but in that respect. But both of them are good for you regaining memories. And this one gives you more dialogue options and usually a crap ton of different ways to talk to people. And then also you increases your mage skills. So if you want to become a mage, which is probably the best course of action because these are the three most important stats, then intelligence helps how many spells you're able to learn total and your chances at actually learning the spell when you read like a spell scroll. I think in one of the fix packs that I'm using, it automatically makes it 100% success rate because, I'll be honest, I agree that it's kind of annoying to have to deal with not being able to learn a spell and having to save and reload, because that's what you're going to do anyway. So I think that I don't have to worry as much about that, but you still need intelligence to be able to have your spellbook full of a bunch of spells and have to worry about not being able to learn extra ones. And I'm not sure what the limit is for lower than 18 intelligence, but that's going to be really high. So we don't have to worry about that, and we're going to probably be a mage. And then there's charisma, which affects your ability to lead and some of your dialogue options and the initial reaction of people. This is used in a fair amount of dialogue options. They're not usually considered the best. However, there are a few situations where in order to get the best quest reward or to unlock a part of a quest, you need a high charisma of around, I'm guessing about 16, 17, 18 is where you're going to end up with this. As you gain levels, you can put 1 point into either of these stats. You know, most of them will go into these. I'm going to put a few into these early in the game so that way I can get some of those early quests done. And then there are going to be other ways to increase these stats. Then there's dexterity. This is pretty easy to tell. Gives you more armor class, and it also aids to your thief skills if you want to steal stuff or hide in shadows and stealth, steal, lockpicking, you name it. And so that's going to be good for anyone who either is a thief character or he wants a high armor class and is kind of a tank along with constitution, but you don't really need these very high. And there are a few dialogue options where you can use dexterity to try and like take something from people or to try and catch a pickpocket, but it's not going to be too useful compared to these that you one up. And then obviously I described strength for you, and that's pretty self-explanatory. And you don't need these very high, and you can increase them later in the game. And you get a certain amount of points, and you have to use all of them up. And so we're going to go ahead and start the game here. Need a bit of drink of water here just to make sure that I can go ahead and so that way my mouth doesn't get too foamy up. That's one thing I tried doing.
You okay? You playing corpse or you putting the blinds?
Here we got Morte with the legendary voice actor Rob Paulson. I love that guy. He does some awesome cartoon voices. You probably heard him from some of your cartoon voices of your childhood. Alright. Need a little bit more water there. Alright, well, let's ask this guy who he is, because this guy is a floating skull. Might be a part of the course for D&D, but again, you just woke up on a slab, pretty much left for dead. Me? The skull seems indignant. How about you, start Scrabby? Who are you? Oh, I asked you first, skull. Yeah, and I asked you second. What's your name? You first, skull. You name it. You tell me your name. Man, you're tighter than the wet rope. Alright, alright. I'll be the nice guy here. Me, I'm Morte. Morte Richkin. And then now what name is unfortunate enough to have you as its owner? Well, I don't know. Can't seem to remember anything. Alright. Yeah, I don't remember. Alright, you don't remember. Yeah, must have been some night you had. Better hope you don't hurt anybody else. Name's Morte. Well, duh, you just told me that your name was Morte. Hail and well met and all that wash. Say, I have to ask, are you one of those sensates in self-mutilation? And da-da-da-da. Well, let's check out about these sensates. Don't know what sensates are? Oh, are you in for a treat? They're this group of bashers who are all experiencing about experiencing all the planes have to offer, right? Including, well, forget it for now. What about those scars? Oh, my scars? What about them? It's like some basher decided to paint you with knife. You're scarred all over, even on your back. Except... so you got a whole tattoo gallery on your back, Burke. Spells out something. Well, what does it say, you old floating skull? Oh, well. Looks like directions and Morte clears his throat. Let's see. It starts with... I know you feel like you've been drinking a few kegs of stick swash, but you need to center yourself. Among your possessions is a journal that will shed some light on the dark of the matter. Farad can fill you in on the rest of the chant, if he's not in the dead book already. And don't lose that journal or we'll be up to this... We'll be up the sticks again, and whatever you do, do not tell anyone who you are or what happens to you, or they'll put you on a quick pilgrimage to the crematorium. That would hurt. And do what I tell you. Read the journal, then find Farad. Interesting. And of course, in this game you have tons and tons of dialogue options during the game. And you always get, you get plenty of dialogue options for most of your conversations. Pretty much, unless it's just like a random NPC, you're going to be able to get several ways to talk to people. And that's usually if your intelligence, charisma, and wisdom are high enough to give you those extra options. No wonder my back hurts. Do you know someone named Farad? Alright, let's ask him. Nobody I know. Then again, I don't know many people. Well, you are Dead Skull, or whatever you are. And still some Burke's got to know where to find this guy. Once we get out here, that is. I have a journal with me when I was lying here. Let's check it out. No, you were stripped to the skins when you arrived here. Besides, looks like you got enough of a journal written on your body. Well, that's true. And now let's ask him how we get out of here. Yeah, no, that is a good question. Sand's running through the glass for you, Chief. Call me Chief. The dustmen find you. They'll attempt to correct your resurrection problem by tossing you into the crematorium. If you keep playing dead, you'll go to the crematorium anyway. Modron's chance, eh? What to do? Unless that's because these dustmen are. Again, I already know who they are, but I want to go through the game for people who haven't either played it or that they don't really have the time to go through every single conversation and they just want to go through the game real quick. I'm going to try to do as many side quests and as much parts of the game as I can while doing this. That way other people can... excuse me. So, a little bit of gas here. But I'm just going to try and go through as many parts of the game as possible for those who may not have the time to play the game or they want to know just what the game is like. And Dustmen, alright, the Dusties, they watch the plays here. You can't miss them. They have an obsession with blackened rigor mortis of the face. They call themselves the Dustmen and pretend they're a faction, but they're just an addled bunch of ghoulish death worshippers, and steer clear of them too. And so, how do I get out of here? Let's ask him again. It's kind of one of those weird loops that you can get in conversations. And of course, that's a good question. And we're going to ask him just, alright, well, you're a floating skull that seems to know everything. Maybe you have a brain in there too. So let's ask him see if we can tell him how to get out of here. Or have him tell us how to get out of here. Make him force him to tell us. Alright. From where I'm sitting, it's obvious you need to get out of here. Me, I can afford to wait, well, of course. And the only danger I'm in is dying of boredom. We could lend each other a hand. Oh. Lend him a hand? He sure could use some hands. You don't have any hands. Ha. Alright, what could you do to help me? It may not look it, but I could help you get out of here. And you could help me get out of here, too. I haven't got hands, so I'm in a bit of a quandary. You're missing what's in your cranium. Well, I got plenty of experience and know-how to get you out of this dive. We cooperate, and we both come out ahead. Deal, Burke? Deal. And I've got a bad feeling about this. Alright. Fate can go squat on a halberd for all I care. Listen, Chief, pay attention to how often bad and fate show up in the same sentence, and you'll catch on to one of life's little mysteries. Best thing to do is to tell fate to wrap itself in Razorvine. There's always another option that fate never lets on. I'll keep that in mind. Alright then. Now, come on. Let's give this place a laugh. The doors out of here are locked, so we'll need the key. The key. Chances are one of the walking corpses in this room has it. Walking corpses? Well, more likely a zombie. And yeah, the mortuary keepers use dead bodies as cheap labor. The corpses are dumb as stones, but they're harmless and won't attack you unless you attack first. That's nice to know. Nice to know for my health. Is there some other way, and this is something you want to check into, is that are there any other ways to complete quests, or are there any other ways to go ahead and do a non-violent solution, which is usually the best option, just like in real life? Is there some other way? I don't want to kill one just for that darn key. What? You think it's going to hurt their feelings? They're dead! Just like you, Morte. And, well, if you want it on the bright side of this, let's look on the bright side. If you kill them, at least they'll have a rest before their keepers raise them up to work again. I guess from a certain point of view. Well, alright, I'll just go ahead and kill one and take the key. Well, before you do that, arm yourself first, and I think there's a scalpel on one of the shelves around here. And I'll give you notes for the very beginning of the game. They're not really important once you've already played the game, because you already know what to do, and you'll know the tricks of the trade, and you already know you'll know everything you need to know. Alright, and I'll go ahead and look for one. One last thing, those corpses are slow as molasses. But getting punched by one of them is like being kissed by a battering ram. I don't think I'd want to kissed by one of those things. If they start getting an edge on you, remember you can run, and they can't. Use it to keep some distance between you and them if you need to recover. Alright. Well, to run, you gotta hold down... Well, you can hold down the control key, or you can go to the options menu and turn to always run on. So, you can use that for running, and that's pretty self-explanatory. And alright, we'll keep that in mind. And of course, you can go ahead and use hotkeys to select either one of these guys, or you can just do this or this. And of course, they got their voices too, which are pretty cool.
Sure, why not?
Yep, sure, why not? You got these little question marks here, which are kind of like, in the Fallout games, it's like examining stuff with the right click. Right click in this game brings up that menu. But all you need to do is just click on it if it has a question mark coming up by that cursor. And it looks like someone is in the middle of dissecting this corpse. But, you know, kind of expected that. I mean, I just woke up on a slab. This slab is covered with dried blood and other remains. I wonder what happened to me. Or the nameless one, that is. This corpse looks like someone turned it inside out. The machine at the head of the table has peeled the skin off the forehead to give direct access to the skull. Oh, man. So yeah, this is kind of like a mortuary, almost like a graveyard, too. Because you have to count those little zombie things, might as well be. And this is where the scalpel is. And it's kind of like a knife weapon, but it's the very first weapon you get. Alright, you found the scalpel. Now go get those corpses. And don't worry, I'll stay back and provide valuable tactical advice. What? Alright, Morte, I want you to help me. Maybe you could help me, Morte. I will be helping you. Good advice is hard to come by. I meant in attacking the corpse, dummy. Me, I'm a romantic, not a soldier. I'd just get in the way. Well, you don't have any arms, so you can't have any hands either, romantic. When I attack this corpse, you better be right there with me, or you'll be the next thing I punch a scalpel in skull. Alright, I'll help you. I'm glad we understand each other, and another note. But, you know, whatever. We already know how to do this. You can pause and read that if you really need to. Time to introduce these corpses to the second death, then. Yeah. Alright, let's go. And with the widescreen mod that I'm using, and I'll go ahead and give you guys a link in the description of the video for the mod guide that helps you to install a bunch of mods and fix patches and things like that that'll make the game better and add in a few different things, and again, make it widescreen resolution, because usually it's more zoomed down to where it's just like this area, and with 180 sort of P kind of widescreen mod, you can get this whole big old area right here. These things are a bit smaller, and this menu that usually covers up most of the screen is only that big, But it's not really a huge deal because you can still see everything just fine, and you can read these just fine too. This simple surgical cutting tool looks like it's seen a lot of use. Well, yeah, it's a scalpel. And it's in a mortuary, so that's pretty easy to figure out. And of course, it shows you how to equip the scalpel, and this is mainly just tutorial stuff. Later on, you'll have to deal with a lot of those descriptions, like the white note stuff here. Usually that'll only be for like identifiable items like magic stuff and quest items. Alright, now and then obviously you have a bunch of different equipment here they can get. Items, quiver for ranged weapons, and your quick weapon slots. And your weight right there. And of course you can switch on over to Morte the Skull. And he's got his own, he's a skull so he can't really wear anything. He's got his teeth as weapons, so it's almost like a headbutt. And he only has 2 quick weapon slots too. Your hit points are right there. Your armor class is right there. So I think, lower the armor class the better, I believe, in this game. And that's ground items, so if you want to go and drop stuff from your inventory, you do that. And you can use the arrow keys here to go ahead and move around, which is very, very nice, so you don't have to do this all the time. With the widescreen mod, it's not much of an issue, but I like it. It's a lot quicker. And you can explore around here.
I'm gone.
Let's check out what this thing has to offer around here. We got some bandages. And let's go ahead and... No, not really. We're not going to talk to him, but we're going to find out if he's got that key. Let's start down here. Alright, let's examine the corpse. This corpse stops and stares blankly at you as you approach. The number 782 is carved into his forehead, and his lips have been stitched closed. The faint smell of formaldehyde emanates from the body. Alright, let's examine him and see if he's carrying a key. And this corpse looks like the one with the key, and it's holding it tightly in its left hand. Its thumb and forefinger locked around it with a death grip. It looks like you'll need to hack the corpse's hand off to free the key. Like I said, tons of dialogue in this game, and most of the games you're not going to get this kind of dialogue. Or these many options. Just like, oh hey, you doing anything later? Or, to a zombie. Alright, so you can either leave the corpse in peace, which we're not going to do, or you can tell him that I need that key and you're not long for this world, and then it'll automatically begin combat. In some cases of dialogue, it'll automatically begin combat with certain dialogue options. Alright, let's get this going and have everyone attack that thing. And combat's not too hard, especially early in the game. It'll be very, very hard to die until you finally encounter a boss of some sort. There's the mortuary preparation room key. And you can talk to these guys, but I don't think they really do anything unless you have more conversation options. Let's see, this corpse's head lolls back. That's almost like lolls. This almost sounds like it anyway. Lolls back and forth on his shoulders. Judging from the angle of the neck anyway, it looks like this man may have been hanged. The number 825 has been painted on the side of his head. It was great talking to you, corpse. Farewell. And of course, this game works a little bit differently. I'm going to bring up the stat sheet real quick. See if that'll go up. There we go. That's what I wanted to do. Alright, and this is basically your character sheet. Obviously we know what our stats are because we've already did that character creation. Name, human, male, hit points, armor class. And yep, the lower the number, the harder it is for enemies to hit you. And it has all of your different sort of D&D stuff right here. Thaco, lore. Our lore is going to be pretty high because we got high intelligence. And we got our saving throws. Is basically your ability to go ahead and resist kinds of attacks, and this is usually for spells or for like fire weapons, fireball, stuff like that. Magical attacks. Then these are our weapon proficiencies, and right now we're a fighter, but later in the game you'll be able to go and switch your class out if you really want to. So don't worry about that. It's not really even spoiling anything because we kind of knew that was going to happen anyway if you can become a mage with these things. And so let's go back down here. And then all your little bonuses for your stats and stuff like that. And right now we have 2 proficiencies, and later we'll be able to use these if you find trainers. And they shouldn't be too hard to find once you go through the game, and we can use those up. Again, this is a little bit different from regular D&D. and it can become parts of factions later. We'll get to that a little bit later in the game once we encounter some more of those. The Dustmen being the first faction, which we already know about, that Morte told us about. And alignment. This is the one thing that works a lot differently from pretty much every other D&D game. In fact, your alignment in this game works based on mainly your dialogue options and if you kill people or don't kill people. If you be evil and you just basically kill everyone in your path, you're going to be more evil. And then if you do certain dialogue options, it'll be either good, bad, lawful, or chaotic. Right now we start off as true neutral, so you have to go ahead and start the game as this every time. You cannot adjust this. It's not like Baldur's Gate or Neverwinter Nights or any other D&D game. Pretty much what you have to do is you have to go through your dialogue options and your quests, and depending on how you do all of those, then you'll either go to, like, say, chaotic good, like Morte is, and it has different symbols for it, and it'll give you a little description over there. And then also you can also do things that, again, chaotic options are a bit harder to figure out because it can be anything as simple to, again, just you could talk to any one of these little things right here, and if you do more of an annoying character or you do stuff that's just totally way out there, like, blackmailing people can get you evil and chaotic, and you can also go ahead and do things like annoying an old lady might give you chaotic. If you go ahead and help someone for free, you'll probably get good and lawful, probably. And if you go ahead and are honest with people, then usually you'll get more lawful. But either way, you want to go... I mean, it's one of those games where you can go neutral if you want to, and you don't really suffer too much for it. But most of the time you want to try and go for either lawful good or some sort of evil. Mainly because those are usually the alignments that give you the best chances to use those awesome items late in the game.
Done.
And it's kind of like Mass Effect a little bit, but not really, because you don't really have to go pure good or pure evil in this game to make it work, because it's a pretty cool game. Alright, zombie worker again. This shambling corpse looks like it has been dead for several years. The skin along its forehead has been peeled back, revealing its chalk white skull. Someone has chiseled the number 569 into the exposed bone. Well, let's just leave him in peace. Sometimes if you get like another dialogue option, it can make you more, I think, chaotic. Probably. It just depends on who you're talking to. Sometimes there are dialogue options where you can get chaotic responses, but you're not going to really know them because it doesn't tell you, and I can't remember which ones are which. You just have to kind of keep an eye out on that. And occasionally you get things like this, they'll have you automatically go into conversations with some of your party members, for example. And you get more later, but right now we just got Morte. Alright. Psst. It's my advice, Chief. I'd keep it quiet from here on. No need to put any more corpses in the dead book than necessary, especially the Femmies. Plus, killing them might draw the caretakers here. The Femmies? Alright, let's ask you about that, Morte. You... Never mind, I'm not going to make that joke. Why do you care about the female corpses, Morte? What? Are you serious? Look, Chief, these dead chits are the last chance for a couple of hardy bashers like us. We need to be chivalrous. No hacking them up for keys, no lopping their limbs off. Things like that. Last chance, what are you talking about, you skull? Chief, they're dead. We're dead. See where I'm going? I never believed I would encounter a horny skull. He doesn't even have a horn. Tch. Oh my goodness. Morte, you cannot be serious. Chief, we already got an opening line with these limping ladies. We've all died at least once. We'll have something to talk about. Almost something in common. They'll appreciate men with our kind of death experience. Oh, Morte, you crack me up. Wait, didn't you say before that I'm not dead? Well, alright. You might not be dead, but I am. And from where I'm standing, I wouldn't mind sharing a coffin with some of these fine, sinewy cadavers I see here. As if in anticipation, he clacks his teeth. Of course, the caretakers would have to part with them first, and that's not likely. Oh, Morte, what? No. Alright, again. I guess he doesn't have any hands. What else is he going to do? He is a romantic. Who are these caretakers, then? They call themselves the Dustmen. You can't miss them. They have an obsession with black and rigor mortis off the face. Of the face, that is. They're an addled bunch of ghoulish death worshippers. They believe everybody should die, sooner better than later. Well, I'm confused. Then why do they care if I escape if they just, already thought I was dead? Weren't you listening? I said the Dusties believe everybody's gotta die, huh? Yeah, sooner better than later. You think the corpses you've seen are happier in the dead book than out of it? Well, corpses I've seen here, well, where did they all come from? Death visits the plains every day, Chief. These shamblers are all that's left of the poor sods who sold their bodies to the caretakers after death. And we'll learn more about that later. Alright, let's all try to remember that. Look, Chief, it's obvious you're still a little addled after your kiss with death, so I've got 2 bits of advice for you. 1, if you got questions, ask me, alright? Alright. And we can talk to him later. Alright, if you got any questions, I'll go and ask you. You seem to know everything anyway. And second, if you're half as forgetful as you seem to be, start writing stuff down. Whenever you come across something that might be important, you jot it down so you don't forget. Yeah, just like taking notes in math class. Alright, if I had that journal I was supposed to have with me, I'd do that. Well, then start a new one then, Chief. No loss. There's plenty of parchment and ink around here to last you. Oh, excuse me. There we go. Alright, well, okay, we'll just try and start a new one then. Guess it couldn't hurt. Use it to keep track of your movements, and if you ever start to get cloudy on important things, like who you are, or most importantly, who I am, use it to refresh your memory. How could I ever forget something like this? Alright, and to access your journal, you can use the hotkey or click on the button down here. Alright, I got it, let's go.
Journal.
Alright, and now every time something notable happens, like, you get a new part of the quest line, or you need a new interesting NPC, or whatever, you'll get it in your journal screen, which is, you can click these buttons down here with the widescreen mod on. They're very tiny, so you can just use hotkeys for them like this, and you get kind of a bestiary of different things. There's Morte, a good old picture of that guy. Morte is a talking skull. His sole weapon seems to be his mouth, whether it be by taunting or biting. He seems to be along for the ride, whether you want him around or not. And the nameless one. Yep, look at that. Look at that. Imagine seeing that on Halloween on your front door. And you are nameless. You awoke on a slab in the mortuary in Sigil, covered in scars and tattoos. Your memory gone. And who has done this to you, and why? You don't know yet, but you're going to find out. Alright. Female zombie. Look at that nice dead shit. Well, I don't know, Morte, you got a dirty mind. Zombies are mindless corpses animated by necromancy, and like skeletons, zombies still have a great deal of flesh attached to their frame. And this is both an advantage and disadvantage. It makes them tougher. It makes them tougher and stronger than skeletons, but at the same time, rigor mortis hinders their movement, making them much slower than a normal human being. Although zombies move and attack very slowly, their great strength becomes apparent when they catch a target. Their blows are capable of killing a normal human being with a single punch. Yep. And it's pretty much the same thing with this guy right here. Of course, this guy looks like he has a mohawk. Well, the female, well, not much different. And then you have your journal right here. So this is kind of like, this part of the journal is kind of just the messages and important things right there. And this is your quest list right here. And so you can go ahead and look through those. I'm not going to read them out loud to you because we're going to go ahead and deal with those eventually. And then you got your other buttons down here. You have your map. You can add notes to different spots. So if you want to go and add a note to a different spot, you can go ahead and click somewhere. You can type in, like, say, if there's a shop that you don't want to forget, or a certain spot with a hidden item that maybe you can't access yet, or like you want to lockpick something, but you don't have a high enough skill for it yet, and you want to wait until you level up. You can do different things like that. So it can be pretty useful in the larger maps when you forget stuff and you have a bunch of things to do. And you have big towns and whatever. And you have your spell book, which, again, you'll get more to that later. It's something that doesn't really take too much to get, but... Alright, looks like I'm experiencing a little bit of lag, so I'm going to go and cut off right here for this part of the video. See you guys next time.